All right, let's dive in. We're about to walk through one of the most powerful chapters in the entire Bible on what it means to be truly free. We're going to go verse by verse through Galatians 5, and I'll give you a mental picture for each one to really lock it in. Let's get started. Right out of the gate, verse 1 hits like a thunderclap. It's a command: stand fast. Paul is basically shouting, look, Christ set you free, so why on earth would you try to put the chains back on? The image to burn into your mind here is exactly that. Heavy, rusted chains literally exploding off of someone's wrists as they step out of a dark, suffocating room and into brilliant, warm sunlight. That's the freedom he's talking about. And that powerful image of broken chains, it launches us straight into our first section, a declaration of freedom. Here, we're going to dig into what this new liberty is all about and the very real danger of just giving it all away. Now, in verses 2 through 4, Paul lays out a choice, and it is a stark one. He's saying, listen, if you're relying on religious rules like circumcision to make you right with God, you're making what Christ did totally pointless. It's one or the other. You can't have both. So picture it like this. On one side, you've got a person being crushed under a giant mountain of stone tablets. That's trying to earn your way through the law. It's a debt you can never, ever pay. But on the other side, a person standing freely on a hilltop, looking out at a wide open horizon. That's righteousness by faith. It's a gift you just receive. Okay, so if it's not about rules, what powers this new life? Verses 5 and 6 give us the answer. It's not about checking off boxes. Paul says the only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. It's a two-part system, you see. Faith is the power source, and love is what it produces. For this one, imagine an anatomical heart, but instead of pumping blood, it's pumping a warm, glowing light that radiates outwards, bringing life and warmth to everything it touches. That's faith working through love. Then we get to verse 7, and you can almost hear Paul's tone change. He sounds like a concerned coach. He says, you were running such a good race. What happened? Who tripped you up? Then in verse 8, he makes it clear. This persuasion does not come from him who calls you. To picture this, see a star runner, mid-stride, absolutely focused on the finish line, when all of a sudden, thorny vines shoot up out of the track and wrap around their ankles, bringing them to a dead stop. That idea of being tripped up leads straight to his famous warning in verse 9. A little leaven leavens the whole lump. Now, leaven, it's like yeast, that tiny pinch of an ingredient that makes the entire loaf of bread rise. Paul is saying one bad idea, just one small compromise of the truth, can spread and corrupt the whole community. The visual for this is so simple and so powerful. Just a single drop of black ink falling into a pristine, clear glass of water, and then watching as it slowly, unstoppably turns everything dark. In verses 10 through 12, Paul's tone gets fiercely protective. He says he's confident that the Galatians will come around, but he's also sure that the people causing all this trouble will face judgment. He feels so strongly about it, he even makes a pretty shocking, sarcastic comment in verse 12. You can just picture him as a shepherd, standing guard, staff held firmly, watching over his flock as wolves circle in the distance. He is not backing down. And that fierce protective instinct, it brings us right to the heart of the chapter. Okay, so if we're not bound by all the old rules, what's supposed to guide us? Well, this next section makes it crystal clear. Love is the ultimate law. Verse 13 is the absolute pivot point of the whole chapter. Paul says, for you, brethren, have been called to liberty. But, and this is a huge but, only do not use liberty as an opportunity for the flesh. In other words, this freedom isn't a free pass to be selfish. Instead, through love, serve one another. For this, imagine a massive, wide-open gate with the word freedom carved over it. But here's the twist. Instead of people just running out for themselves, they're turning back and reaching through the gate to help pull others through with them. Now here's where it gets really profound. Paul takes the entire weight of the Old Testament law, we're talking hundreds of commands, and he boils it all down. He distills everything to just one single, powerful principle. And here it is in verse 14. This is it, the ultimate law. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. He says if you can just do this one thing, you've fulfilled the entire moral purpose of the law. The image here is simple and powerful. Two hands, firmly clasping each other, representing this deep commitment to mutual care and service. But what's the alternative? What happens if you don't do that? Verse 15 gives a brutally graphic warning. He says if you just bite and devour one another, watch out because you're going to be consumed by one another. To see this, just visualize two people arguing with so much venom and anger that their bodies literally start to flicker and fade, turning into smoke and ash until there's absolutely nothing left of either of them. This intense conflict between serving each other and devouring each other, it takes us right inside ourselves to the central theme of this chapter, the inner battlefield. This is the war that rages inside every single one of us. So verses 16 through 18 lay out this constant tug of war. Paul says, "Walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh." Why? Because these two forces are completely against each other. They are always at war. The image for this is a compass, but the needle isn't pointing north, it's swinging violently back and forth, from a dark, stormy cloud on one side to a bright, shining sun on the other. It's a constant battle for direction. So then Paul gets really specific. He basically says, okay, you want to know what it looks like to follow that stormy cloud? Let me spell it out for you. This next list is what he calls the works of the flesh. In verses 19 through 21, Paul just lays it all out. He lists the works of the flesh, things like adultery, idolatry, hatred, jealousy, selfish ambitions, dissensions, envy, drunkenness. And he says people who live this way won't inherit the kingdom of God. The only way to picture this is a barren, cracked wasteland under a dark, stormy sky. And each one of those words on the list is like a lightning strike hitting the dead ground, scorching it even more. But then, the clouds part. In the most beautiful contrast to that desolate landscape, Paul shows us the alternative. And notice the word change. These aren't works we have to do. This is the fruit that grows naturally when we walk toward the sun. And here it is, in verses 22 and 23, the beautiful alternative. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. The image is the complete opposite of that wasteland. It's a single tiny seed sprouting in rich soil. It grows into a lush, vibrant tree, and each of these qualities appears as a perfect, ripe piece of fruit hanging on its branches. So how do we make sure we're on the path that grows that fruit? Verse 24 gives us a decisive, powerful action. And those who are Christ's have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. Now, that word crucified sounds really intense, right? But think of it less like an execution and more like a declaration of victory. The image here isn't grim. It's someone planting a flag firmly on a mountaintop, signifying that this territory, our own selfish desires, has been conquered. It's no longer in charge. The chapter then wraps up with some really practical daily instructions in verses 25 and 26. Paul says, if we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. And what does that look like day to day? Well, don't become conceited, don't provoke one another, and don't envy one another. The visual is simple but clear, glowing footprints on a path, all moving forward together, in sync, in harmony. No one is trying to trip anyone else up or get ahead. They're just walking together in the light. And so, at the end of the day, our journey through Galatians 5 comes down to a choice. We've seen this incredible declaration of freedom. We've seen the law of love that's meant to guide it. And we've seen the two paths laid out before us from that inner battlefield. The only real question left, the one that really defines everything, is for you. Which path are you walking today?